How far would you go to protect your loved ones? To prove your worth to them? How far are you willing to push yourself in the name of retaining your humanity? What would it take to get you to sacrifice it willingly? Would you hurt others? Hurt yourself? Would you break the heart of the very person you swore to keep safe? Would you break the world? Would you kill God? This is the story of one man as he fights against the currents of his better nature to remain the protector he believes himself to be. This is the story of a mortal as he is pushed to the edge of his morality, as he is pushed to seek punishment against the gods for their crimes against their creation, against him. This is Godkiller Retribution. You're walking. The riverbank is to the left of you. It's been about 30 seconds. Etuvar hasn't responded to your little poke and quip. You're walking. You don't know exactly where you are. What do you do?
I stop. Just think really hard for a moment. I think what happens is that I'm coming down off of the high of what just happened. And you can clock in real time that exhilaration, that sense of almost inebriation that is equal parts the experience itself and this new sense of power and the rush of feeding for the first time. All of these things were creating an energy, and we watch him just slow gradually, like he's running out of steam. And I stop and my face falls a little bit, and I just consider if I have any regrets. And I don't. I think I just have questions to put on a shelf for later. For now, I am no closer to knowing what I need to... Well, I know what I need to do, but I'm no closer to knowing where I need to go specifically. So, I put my arm up and out as though summoning a bird. And in my mind, try to summon perfect thing here.
You put your arm out, silently calling to your companion. And he too does not come. But as you're walking, you look around in the far, far distance. Now with your enhanced sight, you can see the faint outline of mountains to your right. East, southeast. The river to your left. You know if you follow this path, you will go north towards where Chara hinted that Bosch may be spotted amongst the death and destruction. And you're walking And perfect thing doesn't come. You don't hear him in your mind. But in between the sounds of moving water, of fish splashing, of frogs croaking, you hear a sort of whistling tone. A melody that is familiar. You almost don't catch it at first. You look around trying to find the source, and you notice it starts to ebb and flow with the flow of the river. This river, the Great River, a mighty expanse. You can't see the other side. And you hear it again. Seraphine's song, lilting between the water running up against the shore. And you feel a pull underneath that. Something vaguely familiar, like trying to make someone out in fog. Coming from the horizon, where you cannot see the end of this river, what do you do?
I have not put down my newly upgraded spear since it was handed back to me. I kick out the bottom to begin the process of flipping it up into a more ready position, and just say into the air, "Hello?"
Nothing answers you directly. But that whistling tone after a few moments calls again. This time louder, but still originating from the same spot in the river.
I take about 1.5 steps at a full run before catching myself. Put that impulse on a shelf as well to examine later, and drop into my trained, not habit, but routine. A silent sort of prey stalking stance. Low to the ground, moving between, if there is cover, if there are weeds or anything like that, using them, but if not, just staying low, slow, quiet, and just make my way toward it.
And every step you take towards the water, that underlying pang in your chest thrums a little bit harder. That whistling becomes a little bit clearer. It becomes obvious to you that someone is trying to talk to you, trying to lead you.
Is there any chance of attempting to recognize the source?
What do you mean by recognize the source?
I mean that I continue to be contacted by gods. And if I'm being beckoned by some force, it's now becoming second nature to assume that it's something to that effect. If I'm feeling a disembodied influence that is vaguely familiar in some way, especially, then if I can turn my senses inward, try to feel out just how familiar this is. Do I know whose influence this is, if anyone's? If this is a recognize a god move, perhaps, or...
I think this would be connecting with someone. When you try to connect with someone, tell them something intimate and answer one. The GM will reveal a fragment of their pain as they answer the other. What common ground do we share, and what still divides us?
What still divides us is I don't know exactly who you are.
And what common ground you two share, you realize as you're taking stock of the situation. Chara, you can see very, very far away in the background, like a speck, but you still recognize it's her as you see the swishing of the fishing rod. The thrum in your chest, you realize, is not coming from within you, but it is a thrumming of something against your chest. The shard. You realize that something in the shard is connecting to whatever is in this river.
I take it off of my neck, stand on the shore, consider very strongly just throwing it in and seeing if it will skip across, but I don't do that. But I will prick it into the water, almost like a finger prick, and just watch how far the ripples will travel.
You crouch down. Do you hold it by the shard itself, or do you hold it by the chain as you drop it into the water?
No, it's full contact.
And you dip just the end in the water. You watch it ripple out. And you would expect a couple moments of rippling. But the ripples don't stop. They keep generating and generating, going farther and farther out. And when you look up, you're no longer on the shore of the great river. You still are on the shore of a river, but you look around and the sky is a hazy lilac purple, pastel pinks and blues swirling in the sky. You're on a sandy shore when before it was dirt and pebbles. You don't immediately see anyone, but you immediately know with your experience that you are now somewhere else. And coming from your right, you think it's coming from your right. You hear that whistling tone, singing the melody to Seraphine's song. What do you do?
Something in me knows that it isn't explicitly them. I refuse to let myself think that. It simply will not happen. So I do just turn my head in that direction first. You know, it is possible to speak with me without teleporting me across the world.
And you look around again, a little more focused, a little more now aware of your surroundings. And you see there's a little bit of a dune, and up the dune, you see a figure sitting. They have shadowy, wispy, black skin with two burning red eyes. A white collared shirt that's buttoned down a couple of buttons with a gray waistcoat on, with some tan khaki shorts and some very nice wingtip shoes. A straw hat covering wavy gray hair that sort of curls down to their jaw. They're also sitting with a fishing pole cast into this river, whistling that same tune. And when you say that, they turn to you. And those red eyes go from beady to wide, wider than beyond a normal socket, and they start waving very excitedly. Vos, you came! Perfect thing waving to you, but as a little boy? And you can now see that he's beckoning you over very excitedly.
I'll go. Still cautious, but against my better judgment, amused. If nothing happens between me and getting close enough to speak comfortably. Now, how and why you are not a bird?
No, not here. I'm not a bird here. Papa, he brought us here to keep us safe. He left me in charge for a little bit.
Oh, well, okay, that explains it. So is here the same strange divine nether space that we have been... the one I am now intimately familiar with?
As far as I know, no. Because this is, where we have to take care of all of them. And you look out, now that you're a little more up the dune, you have a better vantage point, and you're looking, it's been pointed out to you. You look out at this river, and it's a languid expanse that flows seemingly in one direction, but every direction, all at once. If you stood on the shores and waited, you would see the same things passing you by, with the same contents passing you by in a pattern. You see a bunch of babies' cradles, wicker and in different shades, some brown, some that light tan, some white. And as you're looking down, you see that in each baby's cradle, there's a person inside. small but still distinguishable. And you watch as every now and again, one of these cradles dips beneath the surface for a moment, silently, and when it pops back up, the cradle is empty. And you wait just a little bit longer and you watch, almost like a shooting star light lands in that now empty cradle, and a new person is inside. Everyone looks like they're sleeping, perfectly content. When Papa brought us here, it was my first time, and he kind of explained how it worked. And then he got really quiet, and he said that someone wants to talk to you. Which is why I asked you to come.
So you are not the someone.
What do you mean?
The someone who wanted to talk to me. That's
No.
not because I am talking to you now, which is, I have missed you. I have. This has been a very long day. No, life. I am somewhat overwhelmed by this. It is beautiful, but I feel like this is something I am not supposed to see.
Oh yeah, most people won't see it. A normal mortal can't survive in the river. But you are different because of that. And you see he points at the shard. Which is exactly what, not me, but you are here to talk about. Hold on. I think I see him coming. And you see that perfect thing sort of rears up with the fishing pole and casts out long into this river. And you can sort of see the fishing line catch on something, and he starts reeling this fishing pole in. And one specific cradle begins to drift towards shore as it's being pulled. At a certain point, a perfect thing sets the fishing pole down, sticks it into the ground, secures it in place, and hops down, skips down the dune, and wades into the river to pull the cradle all the way to shore. And you see that he turns it and stands it up, and spilling out like a wave is this dark blue, oily water that doesn't sink into the sand, it stays. And as all of the contents, which are way larger, way more volume than a baby's cradle could potentially carry at this size, it begins to writhe and swirl gracefully, becoming taller and taller and taller, taller than a normal person would be. And as it takes the form of a person, Osaki, would you like to describe what Vos sees?
Yeah. So, as Asteria mentioned, a very tall figure, ringlets of hair cascading down their body, a clean white flowing tunic, and accented on their face are these large golden jewelry accessories, uh, earrings in their long ears. Does Vos recognize this as Osaki?
Now, I do think as the shard begins to hum, not audibly, but just with energy in your hand, I think you can put 2 and 2 together on who this is. But I would still like you to recognize a god to see if you can gain any sort of extra knowledge. So, when you want to recognize the signs or influence of a god of Koe, roll 2d6. Add 1 for each true statement. You're in or near their domain? No. You're familiar with their gospel? Would you be familiar with Osaki's gospel and deal before all of this?
Well, how long now have I known that it was explicitly his?
Ever since you got to the capital.
So not long.
So not long.
And things have been happening constantly since then, so no.
It would be bad if you didn't know. At this point, I would say yes. So that's a +1.
Six.
Oh no. On a miss, the GM will tell you only the most common legends about them, nothing more. So you do recognize this as Osaki, god of divination. The person or being that this shard originated from. You know that they were killed, obviously. You know that people believe that it was Baku, the goddess of knowledge. You would also know, I think from Seraphine, that in the beginning, Osaki was a very attentive god. But prayers and trust in him started to wane as more time went on. You don't know why. And it was never truly lost. That respect was always there. But you had heard people, even in your own town, talking about how they don't know where Osaki went or if Osaki's even listening.
Well. Good, forgive me, I do not know what time of day it is here. Good, whatever it is, to you. I have wished to speak with you since, well, not long, I admit. But it seems that all of these problems that I have been having can be traced to you in some way or another, and that is not blame, just, well, I hope that the reason you wish to speak with me is to explain any of this.
Well, certainly I cannot receive all of the credit for what you have experienced. For it may be my power, but it is you who controls it now. Or maybe, based on what happened last, struggle to control it.
Yes, that would be how I would describe it. Well, Yes, I see what you're saying. I do. It is perhaps more mine than yours now, if I understand this correctly, but I did not particularly believe in fate before. And now it is a question. One, the answer to which I resist somewhat, I must admit, but ever since I found out that this power comes from you, I have had one specific question. You either have or at one time had the power to divine, to see all possibilities. Did you know that I would find this? Did you know that all of this would happen to me?
The word fate, which you mortals have described as my ability, is a funny word. I would more see it as inevitability. You describe potential futures. I see pathways, crossroads, intersections that each mortal walks upon, taking turns as they choose or perhaps not choose. I did not think of it at the time, but there were some mortals whose pathways I did not see the end of. Now I was content to just look at the people whose pathways I could see, entertaining as that was. I think I realize now that that coincides with my, well, death and my resultant lack of power. I was not able to see that which I never could have seen.
I can take some comfort in that. I do not wish to be chosen. I wish to choose. I did not choose power when I took this. But once I knew I had it, I woke up every day and chose to keep it. Now that choice is gone, I must live with that due to another choice forever. So, now that we've broken the ice somewhat, what would you like to speak with me about?
Choice is another funny word that you mortals have ascribed to my power. Tell me, how have you felt about your choices so far? You say you woke up having to live with them. You didn't necessarily have to agree with them. In the end, well, at this juncture, for there will be a choice that you may choose. But at this juncture, how do you feel?
My whole life until today, I had but one regret, and it was letting her go. Now, I have a second, not being strong enough, fast enough, wise enough to prevent them from being taken from me. I do not want a third regret, one that grows with every passing moment that I cannot resolve this problem and bring her home. these gods fighting over me, over what I have, over perhaps you. You know, I keep meeting your kind, and I tell each of you in turn that I see you as people until you prove me otherwise. That comes with a certain building empathy. I do feel for you. But I am trying my hardest to care about your war. My goal is simple. Always has been. If you can give me a reason beyond this, I would welcome it if it does not distract me from my purpose, which is Seraphine's safety. Am I clear?
How much of the war does Osaki know of?
I'm everything.
Okay.
Osaki was the last to die before everyone, all the gods were kind of like, we can't keep going on like this.
I see.
So 7 years is the longest period it's been since a god died. Now, now that Syrian is no more, that calls into question, you know, is it going to start up again? But Osaki was there for all of it. And I think that's part of the reason why he got so wrapped up in his room, you know, viewing everything, was that addiction to watching mortals was a way to try to escape it.
Mm-hmm. You ask for a reason. You have witnessed a god die, or at least you have felt its effects. The earthquake. You don't think that that has any consequence on the world? You don't think domains grow and shrink? It may not affect you just yet, but will you wait until it does? Or will you define your boundaries, keep those you care about close, and make sure no one touches her?
I believe that caring deeply for one person should be a doorway to caring deeply for others as well. Perhaps I have misrepresented myself. It is not that I do not care about the fate of this world, I just don't understand it yet. But when I met Halari, Halari was kind to me and afraid of Syrian. If I had not been ejected from that space, I would have killed him myself. Simply to save her life, if I could. If you are telling me that lives have been lost already, that more are coming, more death, perhaps it is a matter of trust. I felt the quaking, but I have yet to see with my own eyes.
Certainly. But you can imagine the consequences that that has wrought. Perhaps imagination is enough to catalyze your decisions. When I was watching, always watching. I would see people on their pathways, and I noticed two distinct types. They would each find themselves at a juncture at one point or another. But there are those who would hesitate and deliberate and question whether the path that they're on or the path that they're choosing is the right one. And there are those who march forward, choosing with no hesitation, with no regrets. If one were to wield my power, my burden, I think I would be glad it were the latter. It's more entertaining that way. And so, you, child, arrive at yet another intersection. My burden that you wield with your lack of control. I can give you control. You would be able to wield it more ably, let's say. That would mean, of course, in doing so, you become child, my child, a child of Osaki, which would mean that you would administer my duties, my divinations, traditions that you must upkeep, dead deities that you must make sure don't stay truly dead. If this does not suit you, I can remove my power. And, well, you mentioned lack of control. You would not be able to fathom how unstable such power can become. But it would free you of this divinity that you have been absorbing all these years. So, hesitation or charge right in?
A world of black and white, is it? Well, you act as though I cannot question you. To take on these responsibilities that you say, knowing so little. How would I keep the gods from truly dying, as you say? What am I signing up for?
You say you've met my people. What do they do?
Honestly, I am still not sure. I mean, I fight and die. Fish. Well, my last encounter, Chara. Chara seemed to have a strong grasp of exactly who she is, and that I respected above all else. Clarity of purpose. What she wanted of me. There were no shades of grey in that discussion.
Well, I mean, does that sound like a people who are forced to one pathway, one mentality? I won't prevent you from fishing. I won't prevent you from questioning me. But there are obligations that come with power. Those can't be ignored.
I have just made a commitment. It is my duty to protect Seraphine. If I take on these responsibilities as well, can you assure me that the two would not clash?
I can only see the paths that people choose. I can't influence them to take a certain path. If things were to clash, that's your doing, not mine.
Well, I am beginning to think I am going to need all the help and power I can get. The power that I will need to kill Vosh. If any of the rest of you who I deal with are not true to your word, well, by that point I will have already proven what I am capable of. So, I do not imagine I will be unable to rectify the situation. Yes, let us, here and now, take action.
Excellent.
And Vos, you see Osaki upturns his hand, not to beckon you to give the crystal, but to do as he does. And as you do, he places his hand on top of yours, sandwiching the shard, the burden, in between the two. And he presses down hard. So hard that it forces you to resist against his downward force. And as you two push together, you feel the shard crack and break under the stress. And as it does, inky, oily, dark water begins to pool in the center of your palm, and you watch as it begins to snake up your arm. It feels warm. It feels like liquid electricity. It climbs up the back of your neck and into your scalp. Your hair feels like it's on fire. And you blink, and everything's dizzy. And you blink, and that dizziness is gone. You blink. Perfect Thing is a bird again, jumping around the shore. You blink. He's a little boy again, just watching. Head turning between the two of you, like he's watching a sports game. You blink, and you see Chara with the fishing pole, fishing properly, pulling in a baby's cradle. You blink and it's a fish. You blink and you see fire. You blink and you see a burning ball crashing into an island. You blink, that island You see bisected by the force. You see a tsunami. You see people being swallowed by water. You hear screaming. You blink. You see one of the nobles running through halls. You recognize who this is, the lord of this island. You blink. You see antlers with moldy lichen dripping down. You blink, you see the shimmer of a silver star. You hear ragged breath. You blink. You see Osaki standing before you, watching you. And then that feeling of electricity, of your hair on fire, of the dizziness, fades away. And everything in your mind returns to quiet, returns to equilibrium. But you can feel a hum just under your skin. And your veins on your hand and your wrist, up your forearm, are still a swirling, oily blue.
Now I have seen it. Now it is real.
It always was real. But I agree. Watching it makes it all the more tangible.
Imagination is a luxury, my friend. But it never killed anyone, and it never put food on the table. Most people outside the town where I grew up never even imagined it was up there. We made do with what we had and what we made with our hands. And that is what I intend to do with this burden.
Then go forth, child of mine. Protect the one you love. Protect my domain. Protect yourself.
Man can only try, can't he?
Osaki nods.
I'm sorry about your being dead.
I just miss being able to see everyone, truthfully. There's a sleepiness to it all. Not true sleep. I could tell whenever you were using the burden for what it's worth. Like pulling on my sleeve.
You know, when I am tired, hold on. I reach into my poncho, into one of the hidden pockets inside, and I produce a handful of coffee beans and just drop them into your palm. Now, I prefer the liquid form, but, you know, less handy for travel. But these are quite nice just the same.
I don't know how much use I'll be able to make of them here. But I think I can subsist on what I can imagine they can do.
Well, try to enjoy it. Not everything is about utility, after all. Some things you have to savor. I will savor this meeting. I have enjoyed meeting you and knowing you more than I have up until this point.
I think I have let my feelings be known. One who charges in. I will savor this meeting as well. But I think above all, I savor the sleep. which I think I will return to now.
If you dream of victory. I look back to see if this place is beginning to fade away, or if there's something I must do, some door that I must walk through.
Perfect Thing grabs the cradle, steadies it for you, Osaki, to step back into. You, Vos, watch as Osaki steps into this cradle. His form begins to melt down like a piece of chocolate in a warm pot. You watch as the visage in the cradle, when you look into it, is Osaki, asleep again, but this time holding that little pouch of coffee beans. Perfect Thing pushes the cradle back into the flow of the river. And you watch it drift away, join the dance of the other cradles, floating down this river in just one direction, but every direction at once. And you look around and it's not beginning to fade, but you are feeling a pull, seeing a thread. It is bright and hazy, and it unfolds before you. Perfect Thing looks up at you and says,
Well, I would like you to stay, but it seems like you have places to be. So, Papa didn't really tell me how to, get you out of here. But I can walk with you and we can figure it out.
Sure. I would like the company. Can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
Just, thinking out loud. I think you're a good confidant. Yeah. All of these gods, well, most of them. I'm still figuring out your father, but all of them trade me such great power in exchange for what they seem to imagine to be this terrible price. And that price inevitably is always responsibility, as if it's such a large burden. But all that does is prove to me that there is such a barrier between them and us. That is the difference I have been looking for. That makes them, I don't know if more or less, but different than people is they don't understand. All we do down here is take responsibility for our actions. And all who claim otherwise, well, they're either lying to themselves or they don't live long enough to be proven wrong. Responsibility is a price we have no choice but to pay. They give of themselves, of their great power, so easily, and they will never know. But, well, I will say this for Osaki. He is not as I imagined.
How did you imagine him?
In truth, I think I mostly just imagine myself.
Well, I can't speak for him or the other, gods. But Papa once told me that, it's really tiring. I mean, he takes care of this place, and he brings people to this place, and he is really busy in wintertime, and, he still feels really bad about the whole, well incident. And I don't know, he's just really busy. And imagine being that busy for all of eternity. That's why I'm helping him out, so he can get better.
So, do you like being a bird, or?
Oh yeah, it's fun. I can fly.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's good. I don't want to be trying to force you into a form that you would not choose for yourself. Well, learning new things every step of the way.
And as you two are having this conversation, I think there is a part of you in the back of your mind that is consciously following this thread, but the path you take is so meandering that it's almost subconscious. And as you walk further and further, this thread stretching out before you, you almost don't notice that Perfect Thing has stopped responding to you.
As soon as Perfect Thing is out of sight and out of mind, just generally no longer here, much like a father closing his bedroom door and allowing the brave face of sort of the burden of day-to-day life, being able to let all of that fall away in privacy, if just for a moment. Now that that cheerful, childlike presence, that thing that I desperately don't want to corrupt or ruin, tears just start falling like rivers down my face. And I grip my spear that much harder. Thinking of every life lost, crushed under the body of a god. Or at least that's as best as I can understand it. I can only do my best. Only my best. Just sort of shake it off of my face as best as I can. And just walk faster now than before.
And you take another step and you look around. And you are no longer in the river. A pure white expanse. A door outlined in gold, dripping with some dark liquid stretched out before you. Its doorknob gleaming from a light source you can't see. What do?
I step forward and hover hand the doorknob. and I have a thought that is a concerted attempt to cut like a scalpel through the cloud of death that is now lingering in my mind's eye. And I reach out and I think, Edward, can you still hear me in this place?
You don't get a response. But like the beginnings of tinnitus, you get a sort of low humming, ringing in your ears. The only thing in front of you is this door, a white expanse, not even the swirling clouds of the space of the river. You get a sense that you are in a space between spaces, a place where you can take a moment, reassess, and choose before you return to wherever it is you desire to go.
In other words, I understand somehow innately that when I open this door, I will see when and where I want to.
Correct. This is the hallway before the exit.
For a moment, I do what I always do. The not snap decision, but snap resolve. There's no hesitation in having the power. His mind is screaming, the power is mine now. Given freely. And there's one thing for me to do with it. I'm going to open this door, and wherever Seraphine is, that's what I'm going to see. But I can't get there in that second. That second of resolve does not translate to an instant decision because I'm hovering there and my hand is shaking. And I see a void space like this in my own mind, sort of superimposed over and behind what my eyes are actually seeing. That's 1,000 doors. And each one of them is sort of the murder tape outline of a dead body I will never understand, but feel somehow responsible for. And I still hear all of those shouts and cries and death wails, and I think for a moment, should I go to them? And I turn the knob, and the creak of the door echoes the sound of my heart breaking at the thought of knowing there is nothing I can do for them. And I force myself into what should have been a snap decision. And I hope that my will was not fractured by this indecision. I hope that when I open this door, I see where she is.
Your hand tightens on the doorknob, round and perfectly sized for your fist to curl around it. And as it tightens, you wield a power that is now solely yours. still devoted to its original source, but can only be wielded by one, rather than being split like before. And you're picturing Seraphine, you're calling out to her, to see her, to find her. And as you manifest this power, you see fire, a sandy shore, a burning blaze of orange surrounding you, almost like a ring, almost like the ring of the Colosseum back in the capital, but instead of the amphitheater seating and roaring citizens, it is just fire all the way up in a large dome. You see a massive wave suspended in time, trying to crest over this dome of fire, steam billowing off of it, neither relenting. And inside, you see two figures. One gnarled, bandaged, dripping, tail swishing, long, matted, black, curly hair, stuck to rotting flesh, sweating from exertion, long claws stretching out from the fingertips, a snarl, a growl, curses under their breath. You see Vosh in combat. You watch as they rush forward towards their adversary, almost faster than time, than light, than sound. And they make contact with the blade of their enemy. You see the flash of silver, a silver rapier, and then the flash of silver hair shining off of this fire surrounding the two of them. A torn skirt to reveal pants underneath. Singed doublet. One arm ripped and the sleeve cast aside. You see Seraphine, panting heavily, deflecting this blow from the claws of Vosh. Her hair also equally drenched with sweat sticking to her face. She parries this strike and flips her hair over her shoulder to prepare for the next. You can tell that she's running defense rather than offense. She is fighting for her life. She is losing, but she has not lost yet. You see her muttering under her breath. Different words, different spell effects are created. Forceful gales trying to knock Vosh off balance. You see arcane energy striking Vosh and hitting them. They wince in pain, but it doesn't seem to do much. What is the magic of a mortal against a god? And you can't hear what they're muttering as they cast spell after spell, depleting their energy more and more, leaving themselves more and more vulnerable, more desperate. You know that if that does not change, Vosh will use that to their advantage and finish the fight. And then something inside you boils deep in your stomach. And for the first time, as you're watching this encounter, you can hear what she says. Please, please help. I know you're watching. And at first, you think she's talking to you. But in your mind's eye, as Seraphine finishes this plea, this prayer, you see two marred, scarred, broken eyes, purple skin and white eyebrows, just the sort of mask of someone's face, flash in your mind. And you hear in your mind's eye, there you are. What do?
Are they elevated from my position, or are they just a ways forward?
From your perspective, because you are not yet in the material plane, you're not here watching this in real space and real time. You have not opened the door just yet. But from your perspective that you're watching this, you're sort of seeing it slightly elevated, but still pretty much ground level, as if you are one of those arcane eyes that was summoned at the Colosseum to sort of get a framed up shot of what's happening in this space.
Firstly, when I see them fighting, I think this power is just starting to live in me passively. And for a moment, I see Tlali standing next to me, feet in sand. Somewhere distant back in the time where we first met, just walking together along a riverbank. And in a moment, I see a translucent path, a sort of winding Matryoshka doll road of her becoming them. From me, but not from me, from her that I knew, up to what they became. And it's not, there's too much for me to understand all at once at this stage. But on an emotional level, I understand that this was always going to happen. And in this terrible, horrifying moment, what should be the lowest point and the highest point of immediate action, instead I smile more broadly and more genuinely than I have in years. Of course she would fight. And then, of course, what else would I do? I reach down and scoop up a handful of sand, if I can, if it's real and solid in my hands. I take it and just very quickly scatter it to the wind in front of me, already taking a step forward at a run. And I watch the sand scatter and blow across in a bunch of different directions, and just for a moment take the shape of future echoes of myself. And my eyes are darting and watching like a hunter, and I find the fastest path that I will have taken to get to them. And I follow it, and meet myself, and absorb those echoes of myself into the present, and I feel myself getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The wood of my spear, it's warm in my hands, and I run to a flanking position. Frankly, I couldn't care less whose voice that was in my mind just now. She's right there. And at last we hunt together.
Now, when you say take the fastest path, is that with disregard for your own safety?
Yesterday it would have been. But my eyes are open wider than they've been before. They're wider than myself, and I think I see myself triumphing and failing. Taking that more dangerous path. And I think I trust her enough to take the fastest guaranteed path. Because I can see it now. I don't need to gamble.
I'm gonna need you to roll 2d6 to wield a power. As you feel, as you're running through time, you open the door, you're running to her, leaving whatever liminal, extraplanar space you were just in to the real world, the material world, the tangible world. There's something in your gut that is screaming at you to hide, not to run away or to cower, but to keep yourself hidden in this moment, and not from Vosh. So I'm going to need you to wield a power, if you're doing this as carefully but quickly as possible. Roll 2d6. Add 1 for each true statement. You've done the specific act before perfectly? Yes. You know how this invisibility works, this hiding feature of the powers of the shard. You're desperate for this to work. Are you desperate?
It's always that word. Because it can mean such different things. Not desperate in the sense of I'm in danger and what's going to happen if I don't do this, but desperate in the sense of like being outside a theme park on your birthday waiting, desperate to get in, desperate for the park to open. But I don't think that's the same thing. So I think I have to honestly say no.
You're close to a shrine, lair, or domain of the god you took this power from. No. So roll 2d6 and add a +1.
That's double sixes on the die. So a 13?
Yeah, I think That's an overkill. How about you? On an overkill 10 plus, the GM will describe how you drain, terrify, or wreck what's around you. Above board, I need you to walk with me here. I'm not undoing everything you've already said. But that it's gonna happen how you said. But something is going to happen first. With a perfect understanding of how to see beyond. You see so much as you run for her. You run to this battle. That blood now pumping in your ears, a different kind of bloodlust, and a desire to aid and protect as you try to shroud yourself in that familiar haze of invisibility, of becoming undetectable. Something snaps. This shroud or this wall that you build is too brittle, and something still manages to push itself through. A knowledge that cannot be denied. A knowledge that is all too familiar with what you're trying to do. And almost like trying to catch a fish out of a river with your bare hands, you feel yourself plucked from your intention for a moment, out of time. You see Vosh and Seraphine move towards each other once more to engage, and then they pause mid-run. All the color of the world fades away. Everything is filled with a deep night sky, twinkling stars all around you. Something in the casting of this power, the wielding of this power, you've sort of... It's almost like you've twisted your ankle and fallen off the path for a little bit. You can get back on. It'll just take you a couple more steps to get there. But something tripped you up. And you can feel in your heart, almost like an emotion that's not yours. You can feel a recognition, and you can also feel an insight, this thing that was almost compelled to trip you. There is a hesitation there still. There is a conflictedness as from all around you, you hear, well, I didn't think they would be the one to lead me to you. How auspicious. And in front of you, in a swirl of starlight and moonlight, a woman stands before you. Beautiful purple skin, a massive afro, 2 horns that sprout defiantly out of that hair and bend towards each other, almost creating a halo. Puffy bangs covering her eyes and the markings that lead up her face. She's wearing beautiful purple, silver, blue robes. A thin book in her hand as she cradles it under her arm. You can't see her eyes, but you can almost see through her hair to find that same marring, that same disfiguration. And there is something inside you that isn't yours, that is inherited, that is screaming at you, begging you to simultaneously hug her and kiss her and forgive her, but also wrap your hands around her neck and choke the life out of her. And she is tall. She is about double your height as she manifests.
I was just running hard and fast, plucked out of time and into this place, whatever it is. Notwithstanding, I still have to skid to a halt. I was in the process of following a path of echoes of myself into the future. I was moving so fast, I was absorbing them. I was consuming them into myself, sucking them into me. And I think that's still happening. There's some vacuous hole in this reality the size of a pinprick through which there is a fishing wire sort of tethering me back to wherever I came from. And those echoes of myself, the process cannot be stopped, and they're still being sucked up into me, but they're like, because I'm not moving forward, they're not colliding with the present. So it's just like a river rushing into a full cup and overflowing, and I'm trying to retain it. So any being of this caliber, powerful enough to see this and to see me for what I am and for what I'm doing, would see this overflow of self, of violent self, crashing into my being and breaking apart, and I'm keeping pieces of it. My form is kind of vibrating, and there are excess limbs, long and incorrect, bent like a reflection in the river, parts of myself just superimposing themselves over and over and over on top of me until I look like a shambling, flickering monster of 1,000 selves. I myself am a creature made of 1,000 me's, with the solid core now dwarfed in the center. Solid and angry. Whoever you are, you are standing in the exact last place you should want to be. Between me and where I should be.
And on a residual echo of that 13 roll, you see her face doesn't move, it doesn't express, but you do see her take a half step back. But despite this, she says, "Give me what is mine, and you can be on your way."
I hear my own rage amplified and echoing a million times all around me, and I hate myself for it. And I step forward out of this cascade of self, and it all melts away and drains away, and I know that I've lost crucial momentum. But I try so hard to incorporate these strange metaphysical things into my worldview and into my actions. All I ever do is treat these times and places and gods like they obey the laws of physics and the world that I do. But I think I finally understand. They break the rules. And now I'm strong enough to break the rules. And if I keep thinking in these narrow, mortal terms, I'm going to lose. So I accept in this moment that maybe I'm not losing momentum. If this is out of time, I've been out of time before and I came back. I'll do it again. And especially seeing that this figure actually was seemingly intimidated. And realizing that's maybe not what I should want anymore. I hold my spear sort of equally, like hands placed equidistant and centered, and just hold it ready and parallel to whatever ground is beneath my feet. And I just look hard and try to recognize who this is.
When you want to recognize the signs or influence of a god of Koei, roll 2d6. Add 1 for each true statement. You're in or near their domain. Yes. You're familiar with their gospel. I think this god, being prior to Seraphine's vampirism, was her sort of core god that she researched and prayed to. You would have some knowledge of their gospel. It would be bad if you didn't know. Absolutely. This nagging feeling in your gut paired with this intrusion keeping you from your goal. It would absolutely be bad if you didn't know who this was. So that's a +3.
Okay. It would have been a normal hit, completely unmodified. It would have been an 8. But it becomes an 11.
On an overkill 10+, you realize your divinity is actively trespassing against them. The GM will say how. As you look upon Baku, the goddess of knowledge, all of these feelings rush over you. And from a first-person point of view, you live a life that is not yours. You have blue skin, long, oily blue hair that shifts as if it was underwater, wearing deep navy robes with gold trim. You walk the halls of some unfamiliar house or mansion. You walk past a room, the door frame embellished with silver. You open it, and you see Baku. Still the same afro, the same robes, but you see her puffy bangs are parted so that her eyes are visible. She turns to look at you, and there is a tenderness and a softness in her normal, healthy, silver eyes. And she smiles, she beckons you close, asks you to sit with her, and you two play a game, a board game, a strategy game. You can see the branches of the future based on the moves that she's making, and you know that just like every other time, you are going to win. And just like every other time, she chuckles, chastises you for cheating, makes a comment in a lighthearted tone about how for once in your lives, she wishes that you could play an honest game. And something about the way she says that, her eyes dragging towards the floor, towards the ends of the sentence, you feel like that part is not a joke. There's something deeper there. You get up after cupping her face, kissing her on the forehead, leaving. You close the door, another one opens. She's standing over you, holding a knife to you. Dark metal with red gems. It looks like it's already dripping with blood the way it glints off the candles in your room. You know that this is not her knife, it's your cousin's. It's Etuvar's. How did she get it? Doesn't matter. You're so tired. It's fine. This is fine. For once in your lives, you'll play this game honestly. She's already won. You just hope that the prize is worth it to her. You feel a stabbing in your gut. You loved her. When you come out of this flash, the goddess of knowledge is crying, and she shrunk down in size to be roughly your height, Vos's height. And all she says is, even from beyond the grave, he's still cheating. I'm sorry. This might be a little bit more of a detour than I intended it to be. Now, before she does something, is there anything you would like to say or do?
I get strangely calm and just say, I was never playing your game. I am trying to do what we were made to do. To live and love and be and protect what is ours. and using whatever tools we can. And I sense you have a fondness for, or perhaps desire for, one of the tools that I now carry. One I am still learning to use. But there is no game to me. All I see now, as I remember who you are, is that she loved you. And yet, you delay my helping her. I see nothing more important than that. Would you say that in doing this and lowering my guard somewhat, opening myself to a conversation, knowing that I've already crossed a line, is a risky move, definitionally? Because I'm looking at my mortal trigger. When you put your own life or limb on the line for someone dangerous, clear all strain. What I'm asking is, can I clear all strain right now?
You could see her hackles moving up. She was about to do something to you that was not friendly. And when you mention the love and devotion of one of her faithful, you see that a little bit of sense comes back to her. Those tears, the last of them, fall down her face, and there's no longer a trail as the last drop falls down, collects at her chin, and falls to the ground. It hits right in between her feet, and it ripples out as if you're standing on the surface of perfectly still water. And in that rippling, the image of Seraphine and Vosh, suspended in time, surrounded by this dome of fire, a tsunami threatening to crest over it, stuck equally in time. She looks down at the determination, the desperation, mid-sentence crying out for her to help her. And you think about how she took a step back when she saw you. You think about the tears. You think about how you felt a hesitation from her. And in the blink of an eye, you see, of all the permutations possible, there are only a handful in which she engages you in combat, and she comes out on top. And you can feel her staring at you now, her gaze snapped up. And you know that she knows that that is also the truth. She was meeting you with emotion, with a retribution of her own. And you responded with a handshake of sorts. In a way, you not rising to meet her in this moment is putting yourself in danger. Though she is dangerous, you are saving her from herself in this moment. And so, I do think that does trigger your mortal trigger, and you can clear all strain.
I think the strain that I clear is the strain of forcing myself to think in 4 dimensions. forcing myself to think beyond my mortal understanding and use it to my advantage. And once again, the best thing that I could do was go with my instinct and be a person. So very much like a child who learns, oh, this thing works. I now just drop all pretense of divinity and not even willfully, am just fully myself as ever I was. It is strange to see so much of what can be when making a choice as a person who has relied on my gut for my entire life, especially in moments of danger and crisis. Lady Baku, correct me if I'm wrong, I could only see for a moment, and I do not wish to look again, for it does make me so tired, and I would like to get back to what I was doing. But in all of those futures, all of those times where I am made to kill you, I did not see a one that did not end in my tears. A good hunter cries over the death of unintended prey. You are not prey. You have done nothing to me. Perhaps you would have. But I think you have just taught me something I desperately need to know going forward for the rest of my eternal life. I am who I am, and I cannot live and die by the shadow of what would be. What I want still has purchase in my heart.
She takes a step forward, stone-faced once more. You know that she is not one to display strong outbursts of emotion. A practical goddess for practical people. And though you can't see her eyes, you know that the muscles of them have twitched to look down at the spearhead, the eye in the center. She gave you that?
Yes, well, frankly, perhaps I did not think it through terribly, but she was very persuasive. And frankly, I needed the help. I needed the tool. It never crossed my mind that there would be any reason not to use it. It did not seem like she was asking for much in return.
And what did she ask in return?
She wanted access to Vosh's power after I dispatched him. Frankly, to me, that was a bit of thinking in the shadow of what could be, for if I am strong enough to kill Vosh, well, if she's going to misuse the power too, then I see no reason why I could not kill her as well. Should I think otherwise?
On the mention of killing Chara, your head cracks against this immaterial floor. And Baku's hand rests on your throat. It's not squeezing, but it is firm. The stars that are permeating this space spin a little bit. And from all around you, not just Baku's mouth, You will not speak of harming her. Do you understand me?
I understand the words. I think it would be incorrect to say that I really understand much about any of you at this point. But like yourself, as I feel about you, I have no desire to do so. This is what I do. I make choices that seem pertinent and right, and assume that I will be able to deal with them later if it goes wrong. But she seemed earnest, and I have no quarrel with her.
I've already spared your life once today. In return, you spared mine. Let me save you again. Let me let you walk out of here. Help her. I will tell you something that will help you defeat that fetid creature. If you promise, no matter what Chara does with this power you're about to give her, that you will not harm her in any way.
Is my throat, am I unburdened at this moment?
The hand is lighter on your neck, but it's still there.
I would. Really, I would. As I said, I'm a hunter through and through, and what I choose as prey matters. Especially when it is a person. It is a heartbreaking thing to have to think of a person as prey. For Vosh, it is not so heartbreaking because that is not a person, that is a thing, that is an it. Chara was good to me and kind in a way. Sort of gets lost remembering that very, very confusing moment. Yes, all of my instincts tell me that I want to be a friend to her, but this promise I feel would be reckless for me to make because she has made me no promise that she will not hurt Seraphine. And frankly, I have fought too long and too hard to make any promise that could overwrite that one. I have promised my life, I suppose technically, literally my service, but I must protect them at all costs. If anyone, Chara included, were to act as Vosh is acting now and try to harm her, well, no, in that situation, I'm afraid I could not be bound by this promise.
You see a downward twitch of her mouth in frustration. Her head moves to look at the fragment of the reflection that is directly under the two of you. Fine. Osaki was a fool. It seems you are not. Let me sweeten the deal. I promise that no harm will come to Tlali's pretty little head from any of us, so long as she does not cross one of us first, intentionally. If you promise the same for my dear, dear Chara.
You wanted a fair game. That's what you said. So why are we gambling? Take my hand and let us look and see in the vast sea of possibility how many outcomes there are where your beloved goes for the throat of mine. And then we will decide.
I actually think that this activates your divine trigger. When you overcome a dangerous obstacle with nothing but your mortal wits or skill, awaken your divinity. The active danger has passed now. This is not a encounter to overcome. This is a negotiation. This is a conversation. A deal. Something that you know Baku deals in a lot. Piece of information for a piece of information. A lot of the prayers said to Baku is information being freely given about someone, something, an idea, a important discovery in exchange for something of equal value. You see, as this happens, Baku smirks, pulls you to your feet. All right. Show me what you can do, Godling.
I don't like being called that, but I put that on a tidy little shelf for later. What can I do?
Now, I don't think this means that you have to unleash your divinity to be able to do this act. You have base contact. You're holding hands with another source of divinity. And she wants you to succeed. It's just a matter of extending your intention to her.
Well, then I think what's gonna happen is that I think I just figured out the mechanism to use this power effectively. Opening up a door to whatever may happen. That's like opening a door beneath the sea and trying not to get blown away. That's impossible for a quote-unquote mortal mind to really do. And especially not in his first, hour of, or first few minutes of being able to do this. But it clicks in this moment that you find yourself a focus, not show me everything, but almost like programming a search function. Filter all results that show Chara actively, maliciously, and successfully trying to kill Seraphine. I want to see every reality in which that can happen and understand exactly how that comes to be.
Here in this moment, searching and filtering for that specific outcome, the two of you only find one, based on the criteria that you searched for. There is only one outcome. And you know that it only comes about if you somehow manage to cheat Chara out of claiming Vosh's power when you kill them. You see Chara taking that same spearhead, plucking the eye out of it and popping it into her mouth. Seraphine, you don't know when this is. You're not in the room. You don't even see a room. The details are so fuzzy. It is just Seraphine and Chara. She takes it and she holds it. She juggles it between two hands for a moment, cackling, before plunging it, both hands, into Seraphine's heart, whispering in her ear. You don't hear the words, you just see the lips moving. He should have kept his promise. And then you're back in this space, holding Baku's hand. As far as you're aware, Chara has no interest in Seraphine, in general. You would have to hurt her first for her to want to get back at you.
Only one. So, then, kind of shaken by witnessing this, and then finds the thought and feeling of there's only one in an infinite sea and it's deeply unlikely, you're winning, don't lose it, and just lets that grow, focuses on that. Doesn't quite work. Seeing her die is it breaks him no matter what, even if it's not real. So I can't fight it and let myself look haunted and shaken by that and try to use it to my advantage and just say, okay, so understanding this narrow field of possibility here, I propose this agreement, if I may. If both parties take sorry, contract wording is not exactly my forte. Okay, I've got it, I think. Should both parties do everything within their power to prevent this singular outcome, then both parties shall hereby agree to take no action that may harm them who holds the heart of the other.
You see Baku thinks another small smirk. Almost a whiff of pride or amusement. She purposefully steps back. There's a confidence. It's not even like she was worried about the wording of this contract. She knows that this won't come to pass, this singular future. Steps back, lets go of your hand, and then sticks it out again to shake.
To be clear, I take this as agreement. Should I? To those terms?
Yes.
Shakes the hand enthusiastically. Smiling again very genuinely and very proud of myself because I think I got away with something.
And as you're shaking hands with Baku, that mirror-like or window-like surface of the water begins to ripple. You can feel your weight becoming unstable as waves start to emanate out from the two of you. You can kind of feel your feet sinking in to something. It feels like you're going to drop. And when you do, Baku is still holding your hand, suspending you as your head is the only thing above this mirror-like, water-like surface. And the last thing you hear before she lets you go and sends you back on your way, back on the path, back to Seraphine and Vosh, is, I'm gonna figure out how to carve that out of you. And when I do, I expect you to give it to me. If you see him, tell Osaki he did pick a fool after all, and drops you. Godkiller Retribution is a Chance Encounters production. Your GM, producer, sound designer, and editor is myself, Asteria. The voice of Vos, our Godkiller, is Ian Frost. The voice of Osaki is Noir. You can find him on his own show, Rolling with Difficulty. Godkiller First Blood Edition is by Connie Chung. Available on itch.io for purchase. Music provided by Ian Frost and Monument Studios. See you next time, lovers. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh shit. No, wait, I have to read what that means.
Never goes right.
This an overkill is not necessarily a bad thing.
Reading as it says, as you drain, terrify, or wreck what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Okay.